Can you reach the lights for me? Thank you. I just want to talk a little bit about finding the standard deviation by hand, because I've had quite a few students over the years come back and say, we used the calculator, but we had to do it by hand in university. Like if you're taking U1 or anything like that, statistics is often part of what you need to take. So page 19, just quick, and here's the QR code that shows you that, but I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to do so. Now, if you want to calculate the standard deviation by hand, this is how you do it. So we have 2 classes here, and each class has 5 tests recorded. If you wanted to find the mean, you need the mean in order to find the standard deviation, all right? So just copy this down if you haven't done this already. Okay, morning. Class A, to find the mean, what is the mean? It's this, yeah, the average, the sum of all values divided by the number of values. That's what it is. So let's do the sum, like adding everything up. We're going to do that right here. We're just going to come up with that right under this column here, so we don't have to take up too much space there. Okay. Watch what I'm going to do. I have this calculator, so I might as well, right? I might as well use it. Okay. So I'm going to put all this into L1, so we can later confirm that what we calculated is actually correct. Okay, so we've got 5 tests. If you go stat, calculate, one variable stats, and you feed it L1, this right here, the 390, is what we are talking about when we're adding up all the values here. So technically, if you add up all of this, it's 390. So that's one way to double check. So I'm just going to put down sum of the values that I've added right down here is 390. Okay, so normally if you take this in university, you would not have this calculator. You would actually just add everything up and you get 390. Okay, so that goes up here. And we divide it by the number of values we've considered, which is 5. Chances are it's going to be much bigger. And it is 5 here as well. So technically I'm supposed to get 78. I'll double check that. I'll go 390 divided by 5. That is 78, and we're talking percentage. So maybe I'll do class A, and then I'll give you a little bit of time to try the same thing for class B. All right? So this is the mean. We're going to now calculate the standard deviation by hand. So that's something I want to highlight today. Standard deviation by hand. And we're going to go back to the front of this booklet and write that down. If you want to find out how to do this by hand, this is how you do it. And this is a little bit, this is scanning, kind of fast forwarding a little bit. This is standard deviation by hand. This is the formula. Watch. It might be a little scary, but technically you're going to be all right. Okay? It's the sum of all the x values minus the average, okay, squared. Say what? Okay. All of that divided by the number of values that are that you've considered. Okay, you got that part, and then you take the square root of that entire thing. So that's how scary it looks, but it is not as scary as you think. It's just a lot of work. Okay? So this is the part that's going to be the most time consuming right here. The sum of every single value you've considered minus the average squared. Okay? So here's how I show that work. The first test score, I'm just going to bring this up here. The first test score is 94, correct? So you go 94 minus what is the average for this set right here. I've already determined that. That's 78, correct? So you go 94 minus 78, and we square that. Plus, what's your next value in the list? It's 56, correct? So you go 56 minus 78 squared. You can keep adding for as many values as you have. So the next one is 89. You go 89 minus 78. Square it. This might be a bonus at some point. So if you know how to do this, you may get some extra marks for that. Okay? Squared. And I ran out of room, so I'm going to do one more here. Bless you. 84 minus 78 squared. You know what? I'm going to break this down. Because if I just leave the formula and then go equals, then I'm going to have to do a lot of work. So can you please erase this equal sign? Box in your formula for standard deviation. Have it on your study sheet if you're interested in the bonus ever. Okay? And so this part right here that I'm doing right here, okay, if you look up here for 1 second, this part is just the top piece right here. So I'm going to call this sum of x minus x bar squared. That's what all of this represents. Okay. Now we have to do a little bit of math. So I'm going to write this down one more time. X minus x bar, which is our average squared. I encourage you to take your time on these ones. So this is what I mean. You go 94 minus 78 equals, then square it. Okay, x2. So go 256 plus. I would actually, I forgot to say, use brackets because sometimes you have a negative inside. This would be a negative, right? But if you square it, you get a positive. So that's 484 plus brackets 89 minus 78, this part right here, squared, that's 121. 67 minus 78, square that, 121 again. Plus 84 minus 78, square that, you get 36. And I'm going to now go ahead and just add all of these up. So remember, there should be 5 of these because you have 5 values, right, in your list. So let's add those up. So 256 plus 44. That's 1,018. And once you have this part, this number right here, that is basically going to replace this ugly part right there. So that's when I'm ready to state my final answer. I'm going to go like this. Square root of 1,018 divided by, how many values did I consider? 5. Make sure you do this first, the division, before you square root. Okay? So I'm going to go in brackets, 1,018 divided by 5. That's 203.6. So I'm going to actually do this. 203.6. Take the square root of that. It's 14.27. Phew, and it's actually what my answer key tells me. That's a standard deviation of class A. This one right here. This you may circle as like finally I arrived with the final answer. I want you to split this. Call this class A. And then I want you to do class B. I know I kind of didn't leave you a whole lot of space. If you wrote like me, it's not the smartest way to write out your work. But remember, you're not going to need the formula in here. You just jump right in. This should take up one line, this part right here. And then another line. And then you can finish it off like this. Okay? So, I will give it away already. Maybe you already know this answer, but Standard deviation for class B is 3.61%. But that's not the point right now. The point is, can you come up with that? Okay? So, from scratch, by hand, find the average of class B first and foremost. Okay, go up here, call this class B right here. Find the average of that class first. Right? Find the average. That is something that I would expect you to know how to do by now. And then move that, once you have that average, find a standard deviation just like I showed you. So I'm not going to give you tons of time, so try to kind of pace yourself accordingly, but at least you will have seen it once. So you're in university, you're just like, I got this. I can't remember exactly, but I know I've done it before, right? It does help quite a bit. So here gets a little more annoying because it's a decimal, right? Your standard deviation. So you'd round it to 2 decimals if applicable. And I really didn't want to spend too much time on this. So I'll just show you. Maybe just show you the notes here. Okay, you get all that figured out, you get 65.2, right? That's the sum of all. Okay. This is the sum of, like, if you clean this all up, that's what you get. Because of time, I'm not going to show you every single one. That's on you, right? So standard deviation is therefore 65.2 divided by 5, right? And that's square root of 13.04, which is 3.61%, okay? So this is class B. So, yeah. Obviously, you had the option to use your calculator, right? We know our standard deviation is 3.61 just by looking at this, right? Right there, it's 3.61, so that is confirmed here for us. So that's a nice thing for in this class, you can verify it just like that, okay? What does that tell us, though? That's the kicker. Class B is more consistent, that's correct. You are closer, most scores are closer around the average. That's what it means in particular, okay? Because the average could be higher, lower compared to the other class, but we know that, in terms of the average, you could say, hey, both classes are doing just the same, right? If you think about it, 78, 78.4, for all intents and purposes, we could say both classes are exactly the same. However, if we dig deeper, you could have done a line plot of these things. You would have seen it there, right? Any graph, you would have seen a discrepancy in terms of the consistency. But that is very time consuming, right? So we just tend to go to standard deviation. So class A is less consistent, class B is more consistent. So it doesn't matter which approach you want to take. You can say, because it says which one is more consistent, you would say class B is more consistent. That's all you need to verify, because the standard deviation is much lower. Okay, much lower than class A, right? Something like that. That's basically, at this case, that's all you had to do. You didn't even have to talk about anything else. Okay. All right. I don't know who watched the video. I never checked the analytics. It's an older video here. If you scan the QR code, it basically did the same thing that I just did, probably in a bit more detail perhaps, but